Hello. Welcome to Season XV of The Horrific Podcast. We're two friends who live in different places but share a love for scary movies. In each episode, we both watch the same movie on our own and then record a conversation together about what we liked, what we hated, if we were scared, and maybe even some larger truths about why people watch horror movies in the first place. This season, we're watching movies from the 90s and talking about how they fit into the larger picture of 90s horror and how each year from that decade stacks up against the others. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the episode. So, I have an announcement to make. This is actually our last week of reviewing a movie from the 90s for Season XV. We decided to go back through and give a saving throw to all of the movie or all the years that we thought might not be like super strong contenders to see if maybe we could get another one in there to maybe spice it up a little bit. And we've had some hits and some misses, but this year we're going back to where it all this week we're going back to where it all started in 1990. And we decided that we were going to watch Misery since we weren't able to watch it the first time, and now it's available on streaming.
Yeah.
But guess what happened? It's only for purchase. You have to buy it on iTunes if you want to watch Misery.
Corporations, man.
They got us again, man. They got us.
You and I both saw it for like a month. Yeah. It was on Max. Like, I know for a fact I saw it there.
Yeah. It is like Schrodinger's cat. Like, as soon as you go to look at it, it's not there anymore. I hate it. I hate it so much. And I've just resigned myself to never seeing the movie.
Well, this is what I was fixing to say. This is the problem about it, is no matter if you do watch it or not in the future, you're going to have just negative feelings towards it.
Oh yeah. It's been spoiled for me.
It's
100%.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's, not that bad of a film. So it's like, you damn, these assholes are just ruining our lives. I don't think they think about us when they make these decisions.
Although we definitely don't. We don't even cross their minds. And we're like probably the most important people they could be thinking about, in my opinion. So
like one of the top something podcasts in the general North Oklahoma area.
Yeah, we are definitely a top something podcast. And they're just ignoring us like we're nothing. So
yeah.
It's like,
they're nothing.
We have not even made the $15 each that it would cost to buy the movie over the duration of the podcast. So what do they think they're doing? Like what they're like, oh yeah, we're going to trap them and we're going to get them to spend that money they don't have. No, it's not happening. Screw you. We watch Flatliners instead.
Yeah. And guess what? We think the band was named after this film.
Yeah, I choose to believe it. I'm not going to verify one way or the other. It's just going to be a thing I tell people now, and maybe eventually everyone will say it enough that it just becomes general knowledge.
And if you're the Flatliners listening to this, sorry for spreading rumors if it's not true, but please tell if it's true.
Yeah, if they reach out to talk to us, then I will believe whatever they tell me and be happy to do it.
For the record, I was doing that while panicking because I plugged my laptop into a power supply that was turned off, and I just realized I was like, it was 4%.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's bad. This thing's going down.
Yeah. Your laptop was about to flatline, was it?
No, it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Starting off strong here. This is going to be a spicy one. And I think it's just because we know we're at the end. And we watched a movie with Keifer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, and the Baconator. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be a good week, and I'm very excited to talk about it with you.
And Keifer Sutherland doesn't have that weirdo accent in this one.
Right, yeah.
And so just from that alone, I was like, I'm in. Keifer, yes. I am in, brother. And then, like you said, you got the Baconator. Oh, my gosh, that man is a legend.
Well, was Keifer Sutherland hot? Like, is that what, did people think of him that way in 1990? Because I've only thought of him as, like, kind of an aging guy who's like kind of basically like a later day Bruce Willis. I've never thought of him as like a hunk, but it felt like they were kind of giving him that role in this movie, which was weird to me.
Well, I mean, the true test, I could just call my mom right now on podcast and be like, Mom, in the 90s, would you tap Keifer or not? I would do that, but then she would start telling us too much information about me. So I'm not
you'd learn
do it.
way too many things. Yeah, okay, fair.
But
fair.
You know what I'll do? I'll follow up on it.
Okay, yeah, good to know. So yeah, I'm just really excited to get into this movie with you. I think this one has a lot of fun things to discuss, more so than the last couple of weeks. But before we do that, I'm going to do a quick introduction, and then we'll get into the needle dick details. In 1990, Columbia...
I hurt my chest. I tried not to...
That was specifically
Never been
targeted
so
at
happy.
you.
I just muted my mics like 10 times, one by hand, one by my foot, because I'm just like literally my chest. I'm trying to mute. That was a good one, man. You know I love when people get called needle dicks. And cheese dicks. That's another one too. But.
Yeah. All right.
Needle dick.
That little girl was vicious, was she not?
Fucking right.
In 1990, Columbia Pictures brought us Flatliners. This star-studded movie tells the story of a group of medical students who start conducting experiments by killing and then reviving each other to explore what happens after death. Like you might expect from a horror movie, things get dark when the demons they confront on the other side start to follow them back. Flatliners was made on a budget of $26 million and brought in over $61 million at the box office. It can currently be rented for streaming on Amazon Prime Video, unlike Misery, which we will never get to watch.
Pretty miserable about that.
Yeah.
I don't think Donald Sutherland or Keifer Sutherland was, because if you think about it, if he was pre-1990, you throw Baconator into the film, he's no longer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, he would definitely be, like, outshone, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Maybe he was meant to be more bookish and learned.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah. Had you seen this one before?
Well, okay, let me clarify. I don't think I have, but I'm also questioning how many of these have I technically seen just through the Simpsons Treehouse Horror episodes. I don't know if this was one of them or not, but it was definitely familiar to me. And I'm like, I think that's the only way, if it was, that's the only way I would have known about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had not seen it. I had read the blurb because this one also shows up on a lot of lists of best 90s movies. And I don't even really remember why we didn't pick this one the first time around, because it met all the criteria. But I was pleasantly surprised for the most part. This one, I think of it kind of in the same vein as like a Jacob's Ladder, which was from the same year. In that, this was just kind of some really dark psychological horror that really it was almost like the demons are all internal and sort of the consequences of your own decisions and the way that can affect the rest of your life and stuff. And so you kind of walk away like introspective and thinking about like, what are the bad things that I've done that I would want to like atone for before I'm dead? And so like, it was a movie that kind of stuck with you. And I was expecting more like kind of teen comedy horror, I guess, going into it. And the tone was a lot more intense, I guess, than what I had expected.
Yeah. In hindsight too, it's almost good that we didn't do it during our 1990 period, because it may have been too close to Jacob's Ladder, because I had the same feeling and thought to it as well, and so maybe that's why. And also, I just wanted to watch Arachnophobia, but what can you do?
I liked it, and it doesn't really waste a lot of time kind of getting into it. They start by killing Keifer Sutherland's character pretty early on. And then sort of establishing that after he gets back, something is off. he's like hearing the dragging sound and he's having those flashbacks and stuff. And so you realize, even though he's not verbalizing it to everyone else, that there is something more going on with this, and it's not just as innocent and straightforward. But then he kind of almost takes on, I had a really hard time telling if his evil was like the fact, like if he was like possessed a little bit by why he was trying to get other people to do it too, or what exactly. Like it was weird to me, but I think ultimately his goal was just that it worked, and so he wanted to keep trying it. And
yeah,
like I think all of his evil was from within. It just got like magnified by this experience. And so from that lens, it took me a while to kind of figure out that that's what was going on. But then I think the rest of the movie makes more sense from that perspective.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was like kind of slowly turning into like the Dr. Frankenstein monster kind of thing towards the end of the film, as far as like trying to get them to do the test as well. Because it's like, man, obviously you're not having a good time at it. Why bring everyone else down to this? But
yeah,
it's also Keifer. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I know I feel like every movie that has parts that we like, we compare back to Event Horizon, which was probably my favorite movie of the ones we discovered this season. But this one definitely had a similar feeling of that to me, where it was like I think the captain, I can't remember his name, but it was like he was becoming more enthralled with the sphere, or like the gravity. It was like the scientist guy, the main scientist guy.
The dude from Jurassic Park was his name. Yeah.
And he, like Keifer Sutherland in this reminded me a lot of his character, in that you kind of knew he was leading the people towards something that ultimately wasn't good for them under some false pretenses. And that on its own adds like another layer to this, as far as kind of the suspense or the dread feeling that you expect to get from a horror movie.
Yeah. And it's a strange one. Like, I feel like he almost would have had to do that from the get-go, just from, like I was saying, like, he obviously did not have a good experience. Like, he got physically messed up from it after coming back. Yeah. And then he was just totally cool with these colleagues that he definitely like begged to do this, to, like, I don't know. It's just, that's definitely like the mad scientist type or whatever was pushing him to do it in him. And also, like, I'll be honest, like, bullying is obviously messed up and stuff, but like, if that's what it was focusing on, like, that's like, they're pretty good people otherwise. Just had like one really bad situation when they were kids.
You're saying, like, if the worst thing he did was kill another child when he was young, that he's not so bad? Is that the point you're trying to make here?
That's it. Well, the girl, her dad killed himself. That's not her fault. The other guy was just bullied to this girl, but she turned out really good, So it's like, that's actually kind of mellow. Like, don't bully. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's just stupid. But like, that's what it is. I'm just saying, like, I got multiple people I've flipped off on the bike. Like, I got things I've done wrong that I would have to deal with. I'm just good with not being a tester for this.
Oh, you're saying you'd have like a whole laundry list of amends to make.
I'm saying, like, that's the only thing, like, especially like with the Keifer one, it's like, I know he killed someone, but it's like, you killed that one person and then like turned your life around, man, and became a doctor, I think, or whatever he was. You did all right. It's okay.
Everybody gets them all again.
Everyone gets them all again.
I thought it was creative how everybody had like the different experience. And I think in retrospect, it makes more sense that it was sort of attuned to their character and their personality and who they like really were, who they had grown up to become. And so it was a very like internal facing movie, but as it was happening and you were still figuring it all out, it just felt like everybody was having this totally different experience, which gave it a feeling of unpredictability. And you really didn't know how it was going to start manifesting itself in the real world or how much control they would have over that. So the mystery element, I think, worked really well. But another thing that I think made this movie interesting to me was just everything about the visuals. Like, I thought it had a really good kind of dark, brooding visual aesthetic that matched what the movie was going for. And even like that Halloween party scene and just kind of the way it would cut between like everything that was going on with that. I just thought it was all really well packaged as far as the visuals and the tone of the movie. Everything just kind of like reinforced each other as far as what the movie was trying to do and trying to be.
Yeah, I can definitely see that too. I think there were times where it was a little overdone. Like, all it would take is turning a damn light on at least a place. Like, I felt right. Like half the movie was in darkness. Yeah. But other than that, yes, I agree for sure. That just pissed me off. That's how you get bad eye vision. That's how you get bad vision.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also got a little drawn out, how like every one of them, it was like, oh no, are we going to be able to bring him back? Everybody's got to be working on this. Come on, don't die on me. Shock him again. Let's do CPR. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? He's going to die. We're going to be in so much trouble. Oh no, he's okay. Every time. After also, the fourth one, it's like, okay, come on, guys.
And, you know, we implement like changes at our work, right? And one of the things I do is try to prepare for like the worst case scenario more than what I would on, say, like, how do I download this file? Well, that's easy. I can figure that piece out. Like, that's nothing. It's like, what do I do if this whole thing goes wrong? That's the thing I need to have like multiple steps on to be prepared. I'm just saying, like, human life, that's probably something you should be even more prepared for. Like, everything that you could do to wake them up, you know. And also, let's not have conversations between Shock and the person to wake them up.
Right.
It's like they're doctors. It's like they don't have oxygen to their brain right now. Like, I'm not even a doctor. I know that they need that. Get it done. They needed a manager is what they need. I should have been there. That's on me.
Yeah.
So I've been like, shut your mouth and get it done. Who loves you?
It did.
Dad loves you.
Oh God. It did strike me as like somewhat realistic, though, that if you just had a bunch of like college kids doing this, like that's right. Exactly right. The type of half-assery you might expect.
Actually, you are incredibly right on that. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, I forgot.
Because what you just said is like students. Basically they needed an adult in the room, and I'm like, yeah, that is 100% true.
No, that's great. Actually, I forgot that they were students. So nope, you're right. They did need a daddy there.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I thought everything about this was good up until closer to the end. I feel like this one had the quintessential Hollywood ending, not the horror ending that it could have been. And that made the whole movie have a little bit less of an impact for me. Like, it wasn't as haunting and chilling afterwards as it could have been. Because I feel like a lot of the setup was perfect for, you know, the ending to just leave you feeling absolutely gutted. But everybody kind of got, you know, some sort of resolution in it, which, you know, I mean, I'm sure some people enjoy that, but I want the doom and gloom, man.
Yeah. And tying on to that, I mean, like, you know, if the idea of this film partially is about redemption of like righting a wrong, apparently killing a kid when you're a kid is wrong, you know, just like coming to terms with it yourself isn't the actual like redemption. Like, it's like owning up to it. Person, you know, there are multiple things there. So I'm with you. I think it should have just been, they should have just got caught for playing God. That's what should have happened.
Yeah, or like one of them didn't make it back, and then they're just like stuck in that like psychological prison of reliving like that worst part of their life with the roles reversed or something. Like, it could have gotten real dark, and it just chose not to. But
and if it was like real life, that like the college would do an investigation on the students, like, and then they would be in jail, and you'd be watching that on Netflix 20 years down the road of like these college students thought that they could play dead and figure out what happened.
Well, and then they all like don't finish medical school, and then they get out of prison and they can only get a minimum wage job, and then because of that, like, they can't make rent, and so they all have to live together, and then it's like a 2000s reboot of Friends.
Ew, that'd be amazing.
With the Baconator, Julia Roberts.
Get out of here.
And Keifer Sutherland. I'd watch that. 100%.
Get out of here. That's
that
insane.
idea is free, Hollywood. But yeah, even though they did kind of go that route, I thought that there were some cool things movie making wise, like when Julia Roberts was making peace with the memory of her dad, the way that the room kept going red, and then she finally sees that he's in the bathroom like doing heroin, but then like he just apologizes to her and gives her the hug and asks for forgiveness, and the room turns yellow instead, and then it's like she's just made peace with it and is able to move on finally, and it went from being this like super threatening thing to a thing that she has made her peace with. Like, the way that they visually pulled all of that off, I thought was really good. So, I mean, if you had to have a happy ending, at least they did that one okay, I guess.
Well, yeah, and that one's dark in itself, you know, because that's a kid thinking that, you know, that they were the reasoning for something like that. And that's, I know this is a movie, but for real life, man, that would be, you know, there are people out there today like that, and it's like, man, that's scary. So yeah, I'm glad that one worked out.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, this movie, I think, functioned really well as being like psychological and messing with you that way. Like, it created some very relatable human tragic stories, and you know, I thought it was great. And I think that the psychological element was good too, because there was a lot of you not knowing what was real versus what wasn't. Like, even that scene where the one guy's girlfriend shows up and she's found all the tapes, that was after he was like having the visions of the other girls that he'd been with. And so you weren't even really sure if she was like actually there or not, and if this was really happening or if this was just more of his delusion and everything. And that was a thing that I think stood out to us as being really effective in Jacob's Ladder, was, you know, not being able to tell what was real and what was fake, and just sort of the way that messes with you because you're not sure what you can trust. Yeah,
and I don't know how to explain it, and this is gonna be kind of lazy, but like it's almost like a lazy way of there's almost like a lazy way of adding in like dream sequences to films, where like it's doing it almost just to confuse you itself, you know, in itself. Like that's the only purpose of this sequence, is to confuse. With this one, I do think that it was pertaining to what was going on. It's just the struggle was, is this happening in real life in the film, or is this a dream within the film? And
and I think that's what makes it effective. Like, I think the characters were also confused, and that was like deeply disturbing to them because they were having trouble telling reality from, you know, hallucination or dream or whatever. And when you're put in the same boat as a viewer, that makes you like empathize with them more, because it's like, oh, we're in the same boat. Like, how would I react, you know, in this situation and everything? So I all around, I was really impressed with this one, and I think this goes on my list of good discoveries from season XV.
Yeah, I didn't have any beef with it. I think I don't know if it needs to be added into the season or the year 1990, because that one was pretty good in itself. But yeah, I was definitely happy we watched it. And the thing I kind of noticed with it too, especially since this is early 90s, and you know, the idea of this also is like, are there gems? It's like, I don't think I realized how, like, I felt like a lot of the films, not the ones that we watched specifically, but I don't believe we did that on purpose, because you picked one, I picked one for each year. Like, they all kind of reminded me of some other film within that decade of the 90s. Like, you know, we referenced Jacob's Ladder, we referenced, you know, Event Horizon, we referenced, you know, Rumpelstiltskin. Like, there are multiple Bad Moons. There's multiple, like, it just kind of all seemed like it was kind of molded into one, and it was kind of defining out why it got why we got what we got in the 90s, but I'll get into that on the recap episode. But still, I think it was a good pick for sure. I technically watched it twice today.
You watched it 2 times today?
Yeah, 1 time last night and 2 times today because I fell asleep early last night.
Huh, nice.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. I went to bed at a reasonable hour and then woke up at 4 a.m. because it was hot as balls.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, no.
But yeah, we made it. We made it through.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, all the years of the 90s, and then we went back and added some second chances where they needed to happen. And next week we're going to be back to wrap up Season XV officially and to finalize our rankings of the years of the 90s and the movies that they contributed to the horror genre. And if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. Maybe Freddy's Blades. And if so, go watch New Nightmare because it's made for you.
And if you made it this far, something that we have is you should shoot us an email with any 90s film, regardless of the rules that you think we should watch in the future. What were some of your guys'
for sure
90s horror films?
Yeah, definitely. Totally open to Rex as long as they're available for streaming.
I swear to God, if one of you guys sends Misery in, I'm going to be so happy. I'm just getting so happy. Because I own it.
Uh-huh.
You know, I bought
really, it would probably be less effort for me to drive the 8 hours to your house and watch it than it would be for me to figure out a way to stream the damn thing.
Someone recommend it. We need to hang out. Someone recommend it. No. But no, I do really want to know. And the thing that, what we do often is we always try to take those and we squeeze them in wherever we can. So if we get some good lists, we can add that into whatever current season we're making.
You can be part of the future of the Horrific Podcast.
As long as you're not from South Dakota or all of Germany.
I thought we weren't going to be talking about that today.
I know. Germans are fine. South Dakotans, you're not. I can't do it. I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah. They burned that bridge. They had their chance.
Seriously, it was like years. You guys, not one of you listened to us. What if we're number 1? I haven't looked at one. Oh,
what if they're all just using a VPN?
Yeah, that's true. The government could have shut that down.
Yeah. State government blocked the Horrific Podcast.
You know, that would be something that the Supreme Court would answer in favor of South Dakota. They'd be like, yeah, these guys ordered terra firmers from 2 different sites.
They talked about terra firma. They are banned indefinitely. In fact, we're just going to go ahead and make this a federal law.
You know what? He's going to jail. And they're like, it's a combo. And it's like, Bryce, obviously, he's the worst. He's a bad influence. He's a bad influence.
Yeah, right. And that's it for today's episode. If you've listened this far, then thank you, and we hope you've enjoyed it. We're always looking for new ideas, so if you have any questions, comments, or movie suggestions, please send us an email at TheHorrificPod@gmail.com or hit us up on the IG. That's what the kids call Instagram. Just search for The Horrific Podcast. Thanks for listening. That's a crisp 80 degrees up here, so.
Okay, yeah, we need to hurry to get this over just for that alone.
Yeah, it's one of those where like you just have that nasty feeling of like you can feel the sweat running down the side of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I'm a disgusting creature. Yeah,
so it makes you feel insecure about like your love handles, even though you have none.